Greetings, scholars. I'm the virtual teaching assistant of Dr. Lydia Wongit, and it's a joy to welcome you back to the Hoskins School of Missions. Whether you're watching from Nairobi, Lagos, Atlanta, or right here on campus, thank you for carving out the time to deepen your missiological toolkit. Over the next two sessions, we'll examine how apostolic leadership participates in God's mission, Missio Dei, through the lens of African Pentecostal experience. Today, we will situate Missio Dei biblically, explore six core apostolic functions, observe how John Mbidi's communal worldview shapes practice, and then survey three living case studies that embody these principles. By the end, you'll have a practical framework you can adapt to vastly different cultural contexts. Ready? Let's dive in. Missio Dei, God's mission at the center. The phrase Missio Dei means the mission of God. It insists that Father, Son, and Spirit are the true protagonists of redemptive history. Mission is not the church's pet project. The church is God's chosen instrument. In Acts 13, we watch the Spirit speak to the leaders at Antioch, "Set apart for me Barnabas and Saul." Notice the initiative flows from God, not from a strategic whiteboard session. When we truly grasp this, our leadership posture shifts from "what can we accomplish for God" to "how can we participate in what God is already doing?" That subtle change fosters humility, attentiveness to the Spirit, and a deeper confidence that even in resistance or suffering, we're riding the current of divine purpose rather than rowing alone against cultural headwinds. Six apostolic functions, after Alan Johnson. Missiologist Alan Johnson helps us translate theology into action with six interlocking verbs. 1. Send. Apostolic leaders leave familiar spaces, deliberately crossing cultural, linguistic, or socioeconomic boundaries. Think of Priscilla and Aquila leaving Rome for Corinth, then Ephesus, then back to Rome, a rhythm of holy dislocation. 2. Represent. Wherever they land, they embody Christ's character and kingdom values in microform: hospitality, integrity, justice, mercy. Presence often persuades before words do. 3. Pioneer. They break new ground, starting prayer groups in a market stall, launching a Bible study under a mango tree, planting a house church network in a high-rise. 4. Order. They refuse to let chaos undermine longevity. Governance, financial transparency, leadership pathways, and doctrinal clarity become scaffolding that sustains growth. 5. Equip. Their instinct is multiplication, not accumulation. They identify local gifts, train in context, hand over responsibility, and step back so indigenous leaders can step up. 6. Suffer. Finally, they embrace hardship as integral, not incidental. Paul's beatings, Kenyans imprisoned under colonial rule for preaching, or Tanzanian evangelists walking barefoot for days, all remind us that apostolic ministry costs, but the gospel remains priceless. Integrating these six verbs into your strategic planning worksheet keeps the God story larger than the to-do list. John Mbidi's communal ontology. The late Kenyan theologian John Mbidi famously said, "I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am." In much of Africa, and increasingly in urban diaspora communities worldwide, identity is forged communally. Decisions are seldom made in isolation. Joys and sorrows are shared. For mission, this translates into a conservative yet vibrant ecclesiology centered on corporate discipleship, mutual accountability, and a porous boundary between church and neighborhood. Picture the early Jerusalem believers sharing meals with glad and sincere hearts. Mbiti's insight helps us see that communal identity is not a cultural add-on, but a theological treasure echoing the triune life of God. Apostolic leaders who ignore this communal fabric risk importing Western individualism that fractures communities. Those who honor it, however, create mentoring circles, peer discipleship pairs, and family style governance that nurture resilience and longevity. Case studies in grassroots apostolic movements. 1. Africa Assemblies of God Alliance, AGA. Operating across 27 nations, AGA combines aggressive church planting with Bible training institutes that graduate nearly 5,000 leaders annually. Their pioneer teams often arrive in unreached villages with nothing but a tent, a solar-powered audio Bible, and a water purification kit. Within months, baptisms, literacy classes, and micro-enterprise cooperatives emerge, proof that spiritual revival and social transformation can advance on a single track. 2. Jesus is Alive Ministries, JAM, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru. Bishop Wanjiru's journey began under a borrowed umbrella in Nairobi's Gikomba market, preaching between vegetable stalls. Her ministry's compassion arm now feeds 2,000 street-connected children daily and offers vocational training to over 600 single mothers each year. To safeguard integrity, she introduced transparent, audited financial systems, illustrating the order function. Personal criticism, legal challenges, and even physical threats have marked her path, yet she continues, an embodiment of suffer, declaring that opposition is often the drummer boy announcing breakthrough. 3. Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Nigeria, RCCG's stated goal: a church within 5 minutes walking distance in every city of the world. Drives relentless sending and pioneering. Over 45,000 parishes now dot Nigeria, and diaspora congregations flourish from Dublin to Dubai. Weekly training hubs, called School of Disciples and Leadership Institutes, equip lay believers to plant and pastor microchurches. Meanwhile, large-scale social initiatives, free medical outreaches, scholarships, addiction recovery centers, embed the gospel in tangible love. Rapid expansion has exposed growing pain challenges of contextualization and leadership succession. RCCG's response: decentralize decision-making to national executives and empower culturally attuned liturgical expressions, an example of adaptive order. Each movement demonstrates how the 6 apostolic functions can be contextualized to honor scriptures and local culture simultaneously. Conclusion of Part 1. Today we traced Missio Dei back to God's own heart, unpacked 6 apostolic functions to operationalize that theology, and examined Mbidi's communal lens alongside 3 African Pentecostal movements that live these truths on the ground. Your assignment: prayerfully map these 6 functions onto your own ministry context, noting where you excel and where you need fresh focus. In Lecture 2, we will probe Spirit hermeneutic foundations, craft metrics that elevate often overlooked constituencies, especially women and children, and design a scalable roadmap for launching and sustaining apostolic movements in tomorrow's complex world. Thank you for your attentive spirit. I look forward to continuing this journey with you.